Turn it up, swashbucklers. You're listening to Under the Crossbones. This is episode number 6. I am Phil Johnson. I'm going to be your host for the show, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. I got 2 interviews for you, 2 short interviews, so a slightly different format than you've heard on my previous episodes, but I think it'll be cool to try it out. So the first episode you're going to hear today, my first guest, is his name is Brandon Barry, and he's from the New England Brethren of Pirates, and they are a costuming group that they do a lot of charity work and a lot of cool things and different events and all. So you're going to hear a short interview with Brandon. Following that, I have an interview with Al Mueller, also known as Captain Robert's Grave Thigh Biter of the Brigands. And the Brigands are a very cool piratey musical group that do the festival circuit and all that kind of fun stuff. So I've got a short interview with Al and some music from them as well. So I hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. I spent Labor Day weekend laboring for the most part, and which is not what you're supposed to do, and yet I always seem to do that. It was a week of laboring, really. It was a week of fixing things. It was a week of fixing website security and toilets and fences and laptops that weren't working, and it was a week of just fixing things for me. Thankfully, I had gigs to go do. Otherwise, I'd have gone nuts. Had some really great shows in San Mateo, Concord, Fremont, and San Francisco. 2 nights in San Francisco, in fact. Everything from dive bars to theaters this week, and it was really fun. I've been out working on the set that I'm going to do at the World Series of Comedy in Las Vegas later this month. If you happen to be in the Vegas area, the festival, the World Series of Comedy, is super fun. It's September 21st to the 26th. And my first show will be on Thursday, the 24th, but I'll be there all week. You can always hang out, and you can come see me. I'll be hanging around. I'm the guy with the long hair. You can't miss me. But I will be on stage Thursday, the 24th, on the 9 p.m. show, and if I do well there, I will make it to the semifinals on Saturday, so hopefully that happens. I did last year, and it was a lot of fun. So I hope you spent your Labor Day weekend not laboring like I did. There's been a lot of stuff, a lot of shows, and a lot of fixing things. This week I want to create some things, and I'm starting that with this podcast right here that you're listening to. Unfortunately, as you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to it on the day it comes out on Tuesday, I am sitting in jury duty, not creating things again. That's how my week's been going. Yes. So I went to jury duty last week, and I sat there for a few hours, and then they came out and said, good news, you get to go home early. The bad news is you have to come back next week. So that's not super cool. So as you're listening to this, I will be sitting in a jury duty room, pondering the eccentricities of the law. I'll probably just be reading Flipboard on my phone is probably all that will happen for the entire day. But maybe I'll write. Maybe I'll write some jokes. There's going to be some jury duty jokes coming up in the show. You can probably bet on that. Speaking of show, and this is an important point here I want you to take note of. Next week's episode is very cool. I have the painter Don Mates on, who, if you're not familiar with him, make sure you listen to that. He's super interesting. Very, very cool. Next week's show is going to be the very first show on iTunes. Now, here's where I need your help, because the first 2 weeks on iTunes are the most important for any show. And if we want this show to keep on going, then that is going to be the big first 2 weeks on iTunes. What you have to do is subscribe, review, rate, that kind of stuff. Those are the things that will keep this show up in the new and notable list for a few weeks longer. That's where we generate the subscriptions, and that's what makes a show like this possible. I was going to say popular, but it's really possible. It makes it possible. So iTunes, next week, the Don Mates episode, which is great. Don Mates, if you don't know, he's the guy, he's a painter, but he invented the Captain Morgan rum character, which is super neat. So we talk about that, a lot of other cool stuff. It's a great, great interview. Let me think what's coming up this week. This week, I will be on stage some more this week. Wednesday, September the 9th, I will be at Top Shelf Comedy, which is at a place called Drexel Bar in Oakland. On Friday, the 11th of September, I will be at Good Times in the Grotto, which takes place in the basement of the Sports Basement Sporting Goods store in San Francisco. Now, I know that sounds weird. It's actually a really fun show. And then on the 12th, I will be at a place called Pappy's in Union City, California, I think. I'm pretty sure that's where Pappy's is, at a show called Laugh Function. and that is Saturday the 12th. So 3 shows this week. You can always find out where I'm going to be at philjohnsоncomedy.com. You can get all the news for this podcast at underthecrossbones.com. So we're going to get into our 2 interviews here. First up will be Brandon Barry from the New England Brethren of Pirates, followed by Al Mueller from the Brigands. And then, of course, after that, we're going to hear some music from the Brigands, some live Brigands music, which is cool, and some comedy from John Maddie. So it's a full show, lots of good stuff coming up here. And here you go. Here's our first episode. My mouth got all tied up. Here's the first interview with Brandon Barry. Enjoy. Tell me about what you guys do here with the New England Brethren of Pirates, and tell me what that is.
It's a group of pirate enthusiasts. We come from all walks of life. I have people who are in the cosplay community all the way through Ren Fair, and actors and historians in the group.
Okay, great. And so, what kind of events do you guys do?
Anything that pirates are needed. No, we mainly do the Comic Con circuit up in New England, and we do some pirate fairs and a couple Ren fairs, and we do 3 parades a year too.
Okay, great. And so, where I like to dig into people's backgrounds a little bit. Where do you come from? Where did you grow up? How did you get into this?
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Rough kind of neighborhood and stuff like that, and I had a girlfriend, and we were going to start a family, and she had family out in New Hampshire, and we moved out to New Hampshire, so I left a lot behind.
Sure.
And I got hooked up with I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Of course, and me too.
Right, who isn't? So I got hooked up with a couple Star Wars fans in the neighborhood through local comic shops, and there's this group called the 501st.
Uh-huh.
They're nationwide. It's a Star Wars costuming group, and they do charities and stuff like that. And so I was really into that. And, I've always liked pirates. And one year we did a family Halloween costume. We did pirates, and people were coming up, "Oh, you're Jack Sparrow." It's like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I haven't seen the movie. Didn't really see the movie yet. And then after seeing it, it was instant love. I've always liked pirates, and, I've seen all the old movies, and, the stereotypical pirate is, they wear red velvet, and they have an eye patch, a bird, a peg leg, and a hook.
Right.
The whole stereotype. And after seeing the Disney Pirates of the Caribbean, it kind of brought in new life of pirates, because the costuming was really good and period correct, and the terminology. It was just a big epic movie.
Sure, definitely. And have you ever? I have to ask, have you ever ridden the ride at either of the parks?
Yes, I did. I did that. I want to say a couple years ago, after a Star Wars celebration, we were down in Disney, Orlando, Florida, and I get to go to the parks and ride the ride.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's kind of where I come from too on the whole thing. Is I grew up as a Pirates of the Caribbean fan, riding the ride, because I'm here in California, so it was close to home, and Peter Pan and that kind of thing. My entire office is lined with Pirates of the Caribbean and Captain Hook stuff. So I come from a very similar place to you.
Right. So after I don't really like the word cosplay. I like saying I'm a costumer, because I take pride in my costumes, or doing the research on that. I'm just not playing. Doing that with the Star Wars group, I started branching off and doing Jack Sparrow. And from that, there was an event. Someone said, "Hey, I need some pirates," and everyone came to me saying, "Hey, you know any pirates?" And I kind of threw together a quick, little group, and we did a grand opening of a laser tag place.
Oh, okay.
And and it was actually it was a pirate themed laser tag place.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So it kind of fit in, and we, after the event, we were having a couple of drinks, and someone said, "You should form a group like the 501st, but do pirates." And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. So a year after that, that's when I formed the New England Brethren of Pirates.
That's great. So how long ago was that you formed it?
That was I think our born on date is January 21st, 2012.
Oh, okay, great. So you've had a good solid 3 years in there. That's very cool. So I saw on your website that you do a lot of charity events and things like that. It sounds like a weird question, but what makes a charity want to call in a bunch of pirates to do their event? It's a weird question.
Well, it's not always them asking us, or we'll ask them. We've done as big as charity as Make a Wish and the Jimmy Fund and stuff like that, and and now it just seems like lately the smaller charities, the ones where they're like Make a Wish, they're a great charity. Don't get me wrong, but there's no face, there's no kid that you see. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
There's no child that we see. It's for all the children, and we had good success with that. But I found out that we have more success when we do a smaller charity. We just did this one called Live for Live, and it's about domestic violence. This girl Olivia, she was shot and killed by her dad, and her her mom was shot too, and because of bad things happened, they built this charity on this, and that was one of the best charities that we ever supported from people. It was a local charity of Massachusetts.
That's really great.
So,
I do the same thing a lot when I do charity work, because I prefer small charities. I've even done benefit events for individuals, so I like to keep it real small like that too. I think that's great. So what? I'm not super hip to the reenactor culture. When you go do an event, what does that consist of besides showing up and looking awesome?
Well, that's what we start out doing. We show up, we look awesome, people come to take pictures, and that's like, hey, let's do a little bit more, and that's why we pick a charity too. Is that instead of us looking good and people throwing money at us, let's try to help someone out who's less fortunate. That's how that started.
Nice, that's very cool.
And then again, as that was being successful, we tried different things, and again, basing off the Star Wars group, they had a couple games they were doing, so it's like, hey, let's make some games. So, long story short, I have the New England Pirates has over 10 styled carnival games themed like on pirates. We have Fight a Pirate, and we have a game called Escape the Gallows, and we even have pirate bowling. And they all got a pirate theme to it.
Okay.
So it's not just, hey, you're throwing money at us, for charity. Now we're actually giving you, the patrons something to do too. There's activities. So now we have been, we're not really historian. We're more on the Hollywood side of pirates, and we are basically there, and the people come and play our games. We give the crowd something to do at a fair or a Comic-Con.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's very cool. So like I said, I'm not the reenactor culture is a little bit foreign to me. If I imagine we have somebody listening that is going, this sounds fun, I'd like to start something like this. What were some of the pitfalls that you had or have or in starting an organization like this? What are the difficulties?
Getting a team together, getting a good group of people that, are passionate with it. You got a lot of people, I still go through this, oh yes, we're right behind you. We want to do this and we want to do this. And it's commitment.
Right.
I understand, we're all adults, and we put on pirate clothes and we play dress up, and it's childish, and that gives us a chance to be a child ourselves and play like we're 5 years old again and forget the real world.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes it's hard to get people to have the big commitment.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Especially coming from years playing with other musicians.
Yeah.
So that's just now. What is there a for-profit element to the group at all, or is it just strictly charity, nonprofit stuff?
No, we do take profit. The New England Brother Pirates is also an LLC.
Oh, okay.
So, to also get back to the group is 100% self-sufficient now.
Oh, great.
For donations and partial proceeds do go to charities, and we keep some stuff, and that helps runs the groups, and that allows us to get more games and more attractions. We have a few of the attractions we have. We have a gibbet, which is a cage that hangs, and they put pirates in it to die, to display, hey, if you are a pirate and you get caught, this is what's going to happen to you. Uh-huh. Well, we made one on the Hollywood side where we can I think we've had 10 people in it all at once.
Oh wow!
And we built over the winter. We built the Fountain of Youth from Pirates of the Caribbean 5. Life size. It's 9.5 feet tall by 12 feet long. We worked out in New York with Bill Diamond and Bill Diamond's Productions.
Oh, okay.
He worked on the Labyrinth and Monster TV, and he's a big Muppet. Worked with Henson and stuff like that. So he's been a big backer of us too.
Gotcha. Okay. So then you're and I'm sort of discussing business because that's always on my mind too. So your income for the business and the profit and things like that generally comes in from donations, and then you give a portion of that to the charities, right?
And now because we're getting so big, we are now being paid to bring our stuff there. We have a set fee. Well, not really a set fee. It depends on the venue. We try to work with everything because we don't like to turn anyone away.
Right.
So I mean, there's negotiations. Not every event, is top dollar, and what I'm saying, we try to fit the venue, and we do get a paycheck from them.
Sure. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, because it's just a business model that I think nobody ever considers when they're considering business models. I think that's really interesting. And so you do a lot of you're building the games and the attraction, the Fountain of Youth and things like that. And you sort of have a background in costume design and things like that, right?
Yeah, I make, I play the character Jack Sparrow, and a lot of the costume is I got a lot of pieces like were exactly the same from the movie, or the person who made that for the movie made mine also.
Oh wow.
But I'm an artist. My background, I'm an artist, and I do sculpting and stuff. I make a lot of movie props and stuff like that, and a lot of the Star Wars props like guns and they call them Ghiblies and stuff, that all the little extras. I make stuff like that, and I make the different pirate stuff we have too.
Oh, okay.
From granite to leather work. It's tons of stuff. Not limited.
Yeah, is that something that you were ever trained in some fashion, or just self-taught with all that stuff?
Self-taught. I the stuff that I make and sell, it's because I wanted it for myself.
Oh.
And I figured if I want it, someone else would want it. So you mass produce stuff.
Right.
And we at some of our events we're allowed to sell merchandise, and it's not all about me, but the group we have. We got very talented people. We got artists, people who sew. So I allow them to sell their products at our tables too. We got from comic book artists to seamstress in a group too. So everyone has a chance to make a little extra too. At these events.
That's what I always tell the other performers. The money's on the merch table.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that helps funding the group too, is that we also have our own brand of merchandise too, from t-shirts to stickers to, we even have a New England Brethren of Pirates soap.
Oh, a soap, really? That's interesting.
That not all pirates are dirty.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's an odd item to have. But I like it though. I think that's neat. So, what kind of events? This episode is probably going to go up early September or so. What kind of events do you have coming up this fall?
In September we have it's Granite State Comic Con, and that's in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's is Comic Con here. It's the biggest one in New Hampshire. And they have a bunch of artists and actors coming in. It's about a lot of pop culture, and they're one of the first Comic Cons that gave us a start there. So we're always will do their show.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, I'm sure all that information is on your website, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And of course, that website is nebpirates.com, and I'll have a link up to the show notes to that website as well. And did we miss anything? Is there anything I didn't ask you about?
I think that's about it.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I'll let you know as soon as the interview goes up, and it'll all be good.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Nice to talk to you, Brandon.
Thank you.
And there you have it, friends. That was Brandon Berry from the New England Brethren of Pirates with a great little talk there. And so you can find him again at nebpirates.com. And if you need some pirates for your event, he is the go-to guy. So let's drop into our second interview of the day here. This is Al Mueller, also known as Captain Robert's Grave Thigh Biter of the Brigands. And the Brigands have a very cool musical style, great sense of humor to their music, a little bit on the adult naughty side, as you'll hear a little bit in there, but it's super fun, super talented musicians. And here's our interview with Al Mueller. Enjoy. tell me about what you do as part of the Brigands.
Well, I'm the fiddle player, and I
Okay.
play concertina for them.
All right. And how? I'm going to ask you later about concertina because that's an instrument I've never thought to play, and I want to know more about it. But tell me, give me the backstory of the band. Where do you guys come from?
Oh, okay. So the band started 14 years ago. We were approached by the Blackbeard Festival that's in Hampton, Virginia,
Uh-huh.
to play at the Blackbeard Festival, which is a pretty big pirate festival. Although at the time it was only in its first or second year. And then I was asked to play. My two sons had been playing music with me since they were little kids, and we put the band together. And then the next year we were invited back and played at a few more festivals, and just been getting bigger and bigger each year. And then 7 years ago we added a fellow named Kevin Lisinski, who's our guitar player and lead singer. And he joined the band 7 years ago. The rest is
history, as they say.
right.
So if we go back a little bit further, how did you get into playing music? How did you get into pirates? How did you end up at that first Blackbeard Festival?
Oh, okay. So I've been playing fiddle for, I don't know, since 1972,
Oh, okay.
and known fairly well in folk circles up and down the East Coast. I've been playing with a number of bands over that period.
Okay.
And the folks who ran the Blackbeard Festival had heard my name and were looking for somebody to play.
Oh, I see. So had you been a piratey type person before that?
No, I played with old-time bands and country bands and bluegrass bands and country rock bands and you name it over that period. Always on fiddle, though.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So you kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
I can identify with that. I fall into things regularly. That's great. So what when you started playing those first couple festivals, was it something that you said, "Oh, I'd like to keep doing this," or was it something that just kind of built on its own?
A little bit of both. I mean, my sons, like I said, play with me. Brett is my youngest son. He was 11
Uh-huh.
at the time, and my oldest son was 13. His name is Eric, and they enjoyed it. So I said, all right, well, if they come back again next year, then we'll do it again, and we kind of just kept going from there. They enjoyed the heck out of it, and put the money aside for them to put toward their college.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a good place to put it.
Yeah.
So you guys, how do you pick your material? Because you have there's a definite sort of humorous slant to what you guys do, and it's a different type of vibe from some other pirate bands I've seen. So how do you go about picking material?
Right. Well, when we first started doing the Brigands, we had the same pool of, sea chanties and traditional music to pick from that every pirate band that's out there basically pulls from. There's not like thousands of songs.
Right.
There's a core pool of maybe 50 tunes, probably less than that everybody pretty much pulls from. And when we first started, we did the same thing, and then we started to write our own material, and that's where we're a little bit different than most of the bands that are out there. We do some traditional stuff. We'll always throw a couple of traditional songs into a set of music or on a CD, but it's usually like a third traditional stuff. A third is usually stuff that we write, and then the third is fiddle tunes of various provenance. Some of them are old, some of the ones that I wrote. Some of them are from Celtic origins, some of them from Scottish origins. So it's a different mix than most bands will do in this genre.
Uh-huh. And you must have, you've obviously gone besides those 50 core tunes because you guys, 7 albums you've put out, right?
Right.
And what's the most recent one?
The most recent one is Well Hung.
Okay, there's that humor.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so the first one is just called the Brigands. We always call it Meet the Brigands. The second one is called Pirate Scum. The second one is called Bloody Seaman. The third one is called Pirate Scum. The fourth one is a really dirty. I mean, it's just absolutely dirty stuff. That's called X. The one after that is called Inner Buccaneer.
Okay.
And if you think about it, you'll get the dirtiness in that. It's a double. The one after that is called Ship Happens. And then the last CD is Well Hung.
That's great. That's great. It's always fun to enjoy dirty humor with your sons. I do the same. My dad comes to all my shows, so he's heard every horrible joke I've ever written. That's great. That's great. And so, how often do you guys perform? How many dates a year are you doing?
We do generally twice a month. I mean, Kevin used to live in Rhode Island. And then my two sons live with me on Long Island. And he just moved down to Florida at the beginning of this year. So now it becomes, it's a little more difficult to get gigs together and stuff because you always got to fly up from Florida. So yeah, we generally do twice a month, sometimes more, sometimes less.
That's pretty good. That's more than a lot of regular bands play, as I'm sure you can remember from the previous days. Oh yeah, well, I mean, I used to play with a fella I played with this guy for almost 20 years, and he was, really hardcore. I mean, we were out there, 48 weekends a year, playing in bars and stuff. So. That's hardcore. What was the name? Oh yeah. What was the name of that group? That was the Lowriders. Okay. And so let me ask this, because I'm a musician as well. And when you were playing in your pre-pirate life, were you doing a lot of cover stuff? Were you doing original stuff? Oh yeah, it was all cover stuff. All cover stuff. It's all cover stuff. Yeah. So you've played "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" far too many times. Oh please, endlessly, endlessly, in my sleep. Yeah. Actually saw there was a video on your website where you actually quoted that one for just a split second. Yeah, we'll sometimes do like the opening line on that just to tease people. But, yeah. It's one of those songs that gets people excited, and then you go, oh no, you don't want to be excited about that song. Yeah, you don't want that one. You don't want that one. Then we do something else. That's great. And so what do you have things coming up this fall that you're going to be doing? Yeah, we have shows down in Marcus Hook, which is in Delaware. Okay. On the 19th of September, 19th and 20th, there's a festival down there. And then in October, we have 2 dates down in Georgia, actually. One in Tybee Island, and then another one down in Columbus, Georgia, which is at the National Civil War Naval Museum. Oh, that sounds neat. The Southern Pirate Festival, which we used to play at a couple of years ago, and then they took a hiatus as they reorganized the staff over there, and they just restarted that festival this year. Great. And that's pretty cool because it's actually at a naval museum. Yeah, that sounds very cool. I'd like to visit that museum anyway. So, like I said, I want to ask you about the concertina because I was watching your videos this morning and I was like, wow, I've never even thought about playing a concertina, and it's such a cool little instrument. How did you pick that up? Well, yeah, we were looking for something to add to when we do vocal songs. And it's something that I can sing and play at the same time, and it kind of adds like a little bit of melody, but it's more rhythmically. Right. I mean, you can there are people who play concertina that are amazing to listen to. Sure. And if they play, especially the Irish and Celtic styles and stuff. I mean, we edited it more for just to kind of round out the sound a little bit. And it's not terribly historically correct because that's only started to come into its own like in the 1920s, 1930s or so. Yeah, and yet it's so it's not terribly correct. I mean, it's not historically correct, but it everybody hears that and it sounds seaworthy, if you will. Yeah, and I'm curious. I'm curious why that is because it is sort of an instrument that you picture in the hands of a pirate. Maybe that's just Disney doing that, but
Yeah, that is. There's hundreds of years in between the two when that came out and the period that we're talking about. But people just naturally put their two and two together.
What were the more period correct instruments of the time?
Well, fiddle for one.
Uh-huh.
The drum.
Okay.
Drum was always around. I mean, every ship had a drum for various reasons to either call people on deck or to display when they were stuck in fog.
Oh, okay.
So that other ships would hear them. So, I mean, drum has always been on board ship for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Uh-huh.
Fiddle was definitely on there. Guitar, not so much. 'Cause there was some guitar, but that was mostly a Spanish instrument.
Okay.
Until around the Napoleonic Wars, and
Sure.
then the guitar started to spread out a little bit more, and you would see it on deck on British man of wars and stuff like that during the Napoleonic Wars, but not so much before that.
Okay.
The penny whistle,
Oh, sure.
fife, that kind of stuff
Uh-huh.
would have been on deck.
Interesting. Yeah, so I suppose you have to make some adaptations for
Yeah,
modern
but
music.
fiddles definitely. I mean, fiddle players back in the day. I mean, you're talking about in the 1680s, 1700s. They were the one crew member who had off on Sunday.
Right, that's true. Yes.
And if you were stupid enough to get captured, you know, that was you were one person that they would definitely bring on board, you know, a pirate ship and co-opt you.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have much choice.
No, yeah, that was the danger of being a musician back then. But like you said, at least you got Sundays off.
Oh yeah.
Which nobody else got. So that's always pretty cool. I can't even think of a Sunday I've had off recently, so that might be a bonus to add to the package. Well, that's great. Is there anything else I missed that you'd like to tell us about?
No, that's the thing. That's pretty good.
Okay.
I'll have to give you. It's a podcast you're doing, right?
It sure is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to give it a listen.
yeah, this will be out probably late September, probably. So right before your October date. So that'll work out nicely.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, Al.
Thanks a lot for calling.
Yeah, you bet. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. And that is that, friends. That was Al Mueller, also known as Captain Robert's Grave Thigh Biter from the Brigands. And you got to love a little dirty pirate music, huh? Yeah, it's the good stuff right there. And we are not done for today. Two interviews, and more. So, as always, got a little bit of comedy, a little bit of music to ease your passage back into real life after all the piratey talk. So today's comedy comes from a friend of mine. His name is John Maddie, and you are going to love this bit. It's super funny because it's about sandwiches. And how often do you get sandwich comedy? Really, not that often. And this is good sandwich comedy. After that, we are, of course, going to have some music from the Brigands, because it wouldn't be any use talking to the man if we didn't play some of his music, right? So I'm going to play you their version of John Ryan's polka. It's a live track, so you might hear a little bit of wind in the background, things like that, but I thought it was a very cool version of it, so you'll hear that. And let's dig in right here. John Maddie and his sandwich comedy.
I say that and I work at a sandwich shop. It's pretty cool. My sandwich shop's got a sandwich called the Gargantuan, the most delicious 8-inch sandwich in the whole wide world. My favorite sandwich, not because it is so delicious, but because of the way people pronounce it. It doesn't help that they're from Jefferson County, I'm sure. But it's very enjoyable to watch these guys come in here and try and tackle this word. There's a couple different types of these people that can't read. One of them doesn't care and they know it. So they go up and they'll be like, yep, let me get the big one. Ring me up. And then there's those same people that have the same reading level, but they're tryhards. They want to get it right. It's like a spelling bee to them. So they're standing in front of the register and they're spelling that word out to themselves. Yeah, let me get a orangutan. You don't have orangutan? I like that job. I have a lot of fun there. I don't get paid to take breaks. I don't get like breaks at all, really. So I gotta make my own breaks. So I take a lot of bathroom breaks. Sometimes I get up from a bathroom break. I'm like, man, that poop gave me $4. One time not too long ago, I was working by myself in the morning, prepping vegetables, and my girlfriend came by, and we took a bathroom break. The best 50 cents I've ever earned in my entire life. They don't call me Freaky Fast for nothing. It's a Jimmy John's joke. This might be hard to believe from what I just said, but I'm a general manager there. I have to tackle a lot of stuff when I'm there, being a general manager, but I get myself into a lot of trouble. I say things without thinking, and I still have a good heart about it, but I just the words just, like it's just garbage. And one thing that happened not too long ago is there was a dude sitting there at the register, not knowing what's going on, not knowing what he wants, doesn't know the menu. He probably wants a Jimungular, I don't know. But behind him walks in a lady that looks like she knew what she wanted, and whom I thought was pregnant. Oh, yeah. And so what are the words that come out of my mouth? Sir, if you don't mind stepping aside, I can take care of this pregnant lady. And she was not pregnant. I didn't feel that bad, though, because when she walked up, she had an immediate defense. She goes, I have a thyroid problem. How many thyroids did you eat? Looks like to me, lady, you have a chewing problem. Looks like you swallowed a whole watermelon and surrounded it with some fat. Here's some meth. I had another situation happen not too long ago where a guy called the store and I answered. And so I'm like, Jimmy John's, you buy, we fly. And he goes, yeah, this number was in my girl's phone. I was called to see who it was. And I could immediately diffuse the situation and be like, yo, don't worry, we're a sandwich store and we deliver. Your girl probably just got a sandwich. But instead what I said was, I guess your girl just likes this 8 inches I got. I was doing this dance too on the phone. You didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure he felt it. You know what I'm saying? I had a couple buddies that work with me. They're like, oh, look, he's probably telling another guy he's got 8 inches. Yeah, and we know he doesn't, yeah. I like to take my pants off a lot. But anyway, that guy, he was mad for a couple minutes. And I finally calmed him down, and I told him, I was like, dude, we're a sandwich shop. You ain't got nothing to worry about. We just delivered her a sandwich. And he was cool about it. He laughed. He goes, my bad, dude. Well, hey, while I got you on the phone, let me get a gargle blaster. I told that joke while I was in Iowa last weekend, and I had one of those lovely white gentlemen approach me after the show. He's like, man, you do a great voice of a black guy. That was an awesome joke. And I was like, sir, I don't think they like to be called black anymore. I'm pretty sure it's basketball American. That's...
Thank you, friends, once again for listening to Under the Crossbones. I really appreciate it. That was, you just heard John Ryan's polka from the Brigands. And you can find the Brigands at thebrigands.com. Shock and surprise. Then you also heard some comedy from John Maddie. And John Maddie is slacking. He doesn't have a website, but he does have a Twitter. And you can find him at JMadd, JMADD32 on Twitter. You can also look him up on Facebook. And I'm going to post some video of his work on the show notes at underthecrossbones.com as well. Don't forget, next week is going to be the first week on iTunes. And I need your help. Not kidding. You. I'm looking at you. You listening in your car. You jogging down the street. I need your help to keep us happening in the podcast world. So when the show comes on iTunes next week with the Don Mates interview, I need you to rate it, give us a 5-star review, put a little review in there, subscribe, tell your friends, pass it around, all that kind of good stuff. Because it's you that makes the show popular, not me. I can just sit here in my recording studio and put out a show that nobody listens to, but I'd rather not do that. I would rather have you listen to it and have your friends listen to it. So next week, when it's up on iTunes, make sure to give us those reviews and all that kind of good stuff. Come on by underthecrossbones.com for all the details, show notes, videos, music, and more. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Phil Johnson. I've been your host. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.